Hi everyone, welcome to this reading. So channel members, if you're interested in the next Major Arcana series video, which is the Hierophant, that will be posted later tonight, so definitely check back. Late tonight, probably around 10 or 11 Eastern Standard Time. If you are not a channel member, but you're interested in the Major Arcana series videos, that link is always in the description box below. There's also a join button beneath this video. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Okay, so this reading, this seems to have something to do with yesterday's reading. It's kind of like some of that collective may pour into this reading. This reading may touch into a different collective. So the reason why I'm saying that is because the first cards that come out are these. We have Starseed, what lights you up, and Keepers of the Earth, you are not alone, ancient ancestors stand behind you. Now, I do want to say, as a preface to this, when I did my stepping aside and tuning in, I am definitely connected to the same energies that brought forward yesterday's reading. They seem to be speaking to somebody who's a little bit further along in that timeline. So if I have any pauses, again, it's just because I'm calibrating myself to try and interpret the energy that's being given to me as I'm being guided through the cards. So with this right here, what we have is we have this essence that we have somebody in this collective, right? This collective, we seem to be longing for something. We seem to be trying to wait for something or longing for something. For some of you, this is this feeling of I want to return home, right? For some of you, it's, what do I have to do here so that that can be ensured next time? Some of you, it's waiting for soul family. Some of you, it's waiting for something that you've been trying to create in this life. There is this overall sense of feeling alone, though, that is showing up over and over inside this reading. And I definitely see it here, right? I'm not like other people. Where do I fit in? How does this work for me? When will I meet others like me? Something like that. The interesting thing is that we have this planet here. Now, it's funny because this planet is kind of like an amalgamation of several planets. It's really supposed to be Saturn there. And Saturn is all about constrictions, restrictions. It's also about karma, right? We're learning some very difficult lessons about ourselves. And whoever I'm reading for, again, just like yesterday's reading, you've done a lot of self-work. This reading is for somebody who has done a lot of self-work. There's still some things that we have to navigate through, and that's coming out here at the end of this reading. This message seems to be coming through to say you're not alone, right? There are ancestors that you have from your own lineage here on Earth who maybe were from a similar place. There are people around you that aren't even related to you that seem to be surrounding you right now. And more so than that, what I'm seeing from this man here is there seems to be almost like a protected, and I'm getting that energy here too. It's like a protective energy from wherever you are from that has been in your incarnations time and time and time again, not incarnated, but watching from other places. This feels very much like a guardian or a protector. And this particular protector seems to have 3 other people, or maybe it's 3 in total. I'm not quite sure. The reason why is because they're showing me this right here, this card, that they also protect and they guide. And so, oh, and there's 3 here also. The number 3 is quite prevalent inside this reading. There's just this energy that the message is coming through is to let you know that you are not alone, right? Now, there's a message here also about what it is that we're creating. So we're going to get into that real fast. Whoever this message is for, our current energy seems to be the Hathor light codes, light immersion, full system upgrade, power recall. Called our energy back from something. This can be a person. This can be, again, like yesterday's reading, it can be something that we've been trying to manifest for ourselves that we're realizing isn't necessarily exactly what we want. For some of you, this is a path that you thought you were supposed to be on, maybe because it's always what you heard about starseeds, right? Maybe for some of you, you're realizing that you don't actually feel that that's your mission. We've called our power back. Our identity is really how it feels. We've called our identity back from something. And once we do that, there's an interesting thing that happens. We start to figure out what it is that we actually want, right? It's all about our authenticity. We have that coming up later. It's all about peeling back the layers to really understand who we are, right? And what we actually look like, what our life should look like, what our mission should look like, what our friend group should look like, what our appropriate relationships should look like. And once somebody has gotten into that energy, we have this coming up next. This is Magician's Sword, confidence in your magic. This is where we have that sharp focal point, and that sharp focal point cuts through everything, right? When we have this third eye lit up this way, this is the eye of the creator. This is where we manifest from. This is where we envision what we want in our life, and we hold to that vision so tightly and so strongly with so much passion that's fueling it from our solar plexus, right, from our God center up through our third eye, that it creates, right? The creative energy now creates through the astral, and it creates our life. This is the secret key of master manifestors, right? And so someone here, you've gotten into a place where you have become a little bit more confident. You have become a little bit more discerning of who you give your energy to. You've practiced appropriate boundaries. You've really gotten yourself into the seat of the creator. And now, because you've realized something here and you've pulled your energy back, you're able to laser focus what it is that you want. It almost feels like something may not have worked out, or something we're realizing wasn't coming, right? It's that kind of energy. And this is why it's saying to me that this is related to yesterday's energy. If you watched yesterday's reading and that resonated for you, this reading may be what's coming up in your timeline, or what you're currently experiencing as a result of some sort of perspective change that you've recently had, or understanding exactly what it is that you want in your life. Now, this right here seems to be the past. What we're having here is we're needing direction. If you look at this card, this woman, she's got wings, right? She's not earthly. She's not of this earth. She has this light above her head. For me personally, I think it's in her and behind her. So it's kind of like this light that's coming from another dimension. It's this sense of self that is existing elsewhere. And this sense of self is trying to navigate her someplace, but her ego self, her identity, her consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is kind of getting in the way, because she thinks she's lost when she's not. She has all the answers that she needs. She just has to stop listening to the loud voice in her head, those anxieties, those fears, those doubts, those worries, that narrative. And she has to just sit with herself and listen to that still soft voice inside of her. We are at all times being directed by the self. I can't tell you how many times I have people say, I've gotten off my path. I feel like I've gotten off my path. There's no such thing, right? Even if you feel that you veered far left, you're still on your path. Your self navigated you there. There's lessons there. There's things we have to learn there. Even if you aren't doing anything spiritually and you've shut down completely, you're still on your path. There's no such thing as not being on your path. If you weren't on your path, you wouldn't be alive. You wouldn't be dead. You just wouldn't exist. You know what I mean? Existence is the path. So, for somebody here, you might need to hear that. You might need to hear that everything's okay. It's all okay. Like, you don't have to beat up on yourself. You don't have to feel guilty. It's all okay, right? For others of you, this is really a past energy that you were dealing with. One of the things that happens when we're in that energy is we forget this. We forget that the universe is our partner, right? We really forget that. And, even if you have these feelings like aversions to being on the path, or aversions to doing anything spiritual, that's okay. That's your self saying, I need a break, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Here, somebody has forgotten that the universe is their partner. There may have been this feeling of reaching, grasping, why won't it come? Why do you hate me? It's energy like that, right? And people go through that. That's okay, right? Again, your self navigated you there. But we're navigated there because there's lessons that we have to learn. There's, certain perspectives that we have to grow into. And sometimes we never grow into them. And that's okay. That's where our path took us, right? The amount of pressure that we place upon ourselves as human beings really keeps us in this energy. I just want to say that. So, this message, it is coming through from, like I said, it feels like very much the same sorts of energies that were tapping in yesterday. And one of the reasons why they seem to be showing up for this reading is because whoever this message is for, while you have gotten yourself into this place where you have this laser sharp focus, you need to understand that you will find yourself in this place over and over again until you understand that this is the actuality of it, right? We tend to need that in our learning curves, right? We don't get the lessons immediately. We have to learn them over and over and over again. It's exposure to the lesson that eventually makes them integrate, right? And so you may be here right now, but they want to support you and let you understand that if you find yourself here again, it's not a big deal, right? You don't have to beat up on yourself. You don't have to feel frustrated. That frustration is when we have expectation. That's not how the spiritual world works, right? Our expectations on things are always going to be disappointed. It's when we stop expecting things and we start creating, there's a difference, right? So that's going to be information that someone has to take time to integrate. But if you find yourself here again after being in this for a little period of time, don't beat up on yourself. This is all part of the process. It's all part of our path. And eventually the information will integrate and you won't find yourself here quite as often, right? Maybe you won't find yourself here at all. Who knows, right? But you may be in a process of being in both places currently, where you're shifting from one into the other. And if that's the case, what she seems to be looking for, she's trying to figure out her place in the world, how she fits in, what this could possibly look like, what she needs something to amount to, what she needs to do in order to fulfill herself. And all of these things seem to be these questions that we're asking, these genuine questions that we're asking ourselves. Just know that yourself is constantly outputting. And so these questions that you're asking yourself, you will receive the answers here. This is truth, right? You will receive the answers. Just listen. And don't always feel that you have to look outside of yourself. Sometimes those answers come from within. Again, she has her own navigational system. Those answers oftentimes come in those inspirations that we have, those little moments where we're like, maybe I should do this, sometimes it comes in the, oh, these memories from when I was a kid. Yeah, I really love to do that. And then we too often let that go and think, okay, back to work, so just pay attention to those little small things, those little subtle cues. Psychic information doesn't always come in with like fireworks, right? It's great when it does, but it doesn't always do that. It comes in usually very subtle. So make sure that you're listening to the subtle things that are going on inside of you for your own answers, rather than getting caught up in someone else's narrative and someone else's answers. Here again, it's support, right? We have these beings showing up here, and I want to cover this because it's important. First off, I never even saw this card. I've had this deck for 3 years now, and I have never seen this card. So I find that kind of fascinating. If you look back here, it's almost like a golden eye back there that is shining out this ray behind them. This is saying something to me. One of the things that this collective is trying to bring forward is that someone here is really obsessed with finding answers, right? And in our quest to find answers, we're going to find more and more confusion. We may find narratives that we can hold on to for a little while, but eventually those narratives are going to get blown open if we continue to progress. One thing that narratives tend to do, right, are storylines that we buy into. And one of the things that tends to do for us is it tends to keep us stuck. So if you have this belief that I know this, and this, and I've been stuck for a long time, you're being asked to reassess that. 1, 2, 3, 4, as I looked up. It happened yesterday in yesterday's reading. Because these beings here are showing up very amorphous, right? Are they light? Are they not light? They've got some very darker aspects, right? They're like all things. They could be short, they could be tall, they could be masculine, they could be feminine. You don't know. There's no real story that we can assign to these, right? If you are the type of person where you see light beings everywhere, you're probably looking at this seeing light beings. If you're the type of person who, you see very ancient, regal sorts of things everywhere, you're probably seeing it that way. What you're being asked to do is to release some sort of narrative that we're holding on to. And this is why, just like you in your life and trying to peel back the layers to get to your true authenticity, we experience the same thing in our spirituality as well. And that's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, does it? We have lots of narratives that we cover over the true essence of a thing, whether we want to put a name on it, whether we want to put a label on it, we want to shove it in categories, we want to give it a history and a story and a whole, this happened on planet X in the time of ZZZ with these beings. And we have this elaborate story for things. And someone here, you have support that's coming through that's asking you to release all of that. Just release all of that, get back to the basics, and allow yourself to experience. Remember that your experiences are always filtered through your lens. You can experience things outside of your lens here and there, right? But your experiences by and large are filtered through a flavor that you have integrated from the stories that you've heard in your own history, right? There's nothing wrong with that, but releasing the search for the need to have everything pinned down and answered is going to help you get unstuck. Your support's trying to get you unstuck, in other words. All those facts, all those stories, all those depictions, that's for here. That's 3D stuff, right? It doesn't necessarily work when we get into these higher dimensions, right? And that's how this feels. It does feel, I want to say, bigger dimensions. I don't want to say higher, I want to say bigger dimensions. I think that even the narrative of the higher dimension really does a disservice to the actuality of it. What more complex dimensions? There we go, thank you. But just as we've had to do this to ourselves, you're coming into a stage now where you have to do this with them. You have to do this with narratives that you've bought into about them, because what they're trying to bring to you, the information they're trying to bring to you, it supersedes whatever you learned here, whatever you've adopted, whatever you were ready to believe at the time. You're now ready to understand more. But in order to understand more, we have to release our hold on that answer, right? Sometimes when we are the kind of person who we really need safety, we really need security, those are issues for us, or we really need control because we feel out of control. Sometimes we hold on to those answers for dear life and we won't let go of them, and this becomes dogma. And so just be sure that you're staying open, you're being teachable, you're allowing yourself to adapt. Paradigm shifting is a very important lesson to learn. Being able to exist in this paradigm, but then shifting into this paradigm, and being flexible and understanding that the question mark is sometimes your biggest blessing. The answers are the pitfalls, right? Sometimes the answers can be your trap. So just be mindful of that. Stay open, right? Be present. Be present. Okay, that was very long-winded to say all that, but here we go. What is essentially coming through from them is this, and they're telling me not to clarify this. They just want me to show you that. And for somebody who is thinking about taking this turn for themselves, and oh, is it this? Was it this? Is it supposed to be this? Like, not did I miss? That's not the question here. It's is it supposed to be this? And it's almost like a light bulb is going off. Someone's just like we have this lady having her guidance, someone's getting inspiration here. So be mindful if you're getting that inspiration, because the answer there is yes. Okay, now they want me to show 2 cards for additional animals. And so I'm not showing these. It's these animals here, the scarab beetle and the lion came through. And then the last message was this for somebody. Be fearless and bold. Right, with our little badger, so he might be a message for somebody. Be fearless and bold. When we have these things that we cling to, that maybe some of you called your psychic energy back from, right? These beliefs about where we're supposed to go and how it's supposed to look, and the narrative behind it, and it must, these are my options for where I'm from. What we're really doing in trying to find those answers is that's driven by fear, right? That's driven by, sometimes it's driven by curiosity. Keep it curious. There you go. If you have to search for answers, keep it curious. But sometimes it's driven by fear, because we need the safety, we need the security, we need to know that things make sense. I'm going to tell you right now, none of this makes sense. And that's a beautiful place to be, because when none of it makes sense, you open yourself up and allow yourself to experience. That's why the High Priestess is such a powerful card in the tarot. She just sits there and she observes, right? She doesn't drink the Kool-Aid, like I'm always saying. She just lets herself experience and observe, and in doing so, she's gained a massive amount of wisdom. If you want to gain wisdom without having to go through terrible things constantly, release your need to control things, release your expectations on things, and allow yourself to observe, allow yourself to learn, because that's how we learn. We don't learn through the narrative that someone else has taught us, right? Parroting of information, it's what has always been done. And coming into this like new age, we're supposed to be releasing that, right? So yeah, just figure out what you want, figure out the direction that you're going, figure out what's true for you, because what's true for you isn't going to be true for everybody else, and that's okay. That's a beautiful thing. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this here, and if this resonated for you, if this helped you, feel free to like the video and feel free to leave me a comment, and until next time.